All right, we should be good. On this Friday morning, y'all know what to do. Shout out to everybody who's in here. Y'all should be able to see me, but if you haven't yet, make sure you drop a 1 in the chat. If you can hear me, drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. We're looking all crispy and clean on the screen, y'all. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream and another episode of the ClassE Morning Show. I'm your host, ClassE, patreon.com/ClassEbeats, by the way. Make sure y'all check out the link in the description as well as in the pinned comment in the chat. And we're about to get into it. We've got a lot to cover on today's show. We're going to cover everything from the CEO of Astronomer. Yeah, I'm sure y'all heard about that. I wasn't going to cover it today, but there's some interesting things surrounding that story. We're going to talk a lot about Bryan Kohberger today and see what's going on now that this gag order has been lifted. We're going to talk about what the gag order being lifted means and now what information is coming out as a result of that. We're also going to get into YNW Melly as well. But before we get into it, I gotta say what's up to the people, man. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. Of course, we got my awesome, amazing Amy is up in here. Good to see you, Amy. We got A Fitz, Stephen Callie in blue. Bonnie Finley is up in here as well. Good to see all of y'all. Big shout out to everyone who's in the building. You guys know I do not ask for much on this show, but the one thing I do ask is that you guys like the video on your way in. Okay, it's free. It helps the channel continue to grow. It lets everybody know that you guys are enjoying the video. It lets the algorithm know you guys are enjoying the show, and it shares this video, the channel, and this live stream with more people. So if you guys could take a second and like the video, I appreciate it as well. If you're feeling extra generous, you guys can do what I'm doing right now. And you can share this video over on X. You can share it on Facebook, on Instagram. You can even share it to your group chat, your own group chats, and let them know that we're live and to come and check out the show. So thank you to everybody who goes the extra mile and does that. I appreciate y'all so much for being here. How's everybody feeling this Friday? Are y'all doing good up in here? We got a lot of crazy stuff to get into, and it's going to be an interesting show for sure. We're going to get to some drama. I'm actually looking. Let me see here. I was actually looking at some more updates on the topic we're going to cover a little bit later, but we'll get into that first of all. How's everybody doing this Friday? Hopefully y'all are doing well. What are y'all doing this weekend? Y'all have any plans for the weekend? I know it's going to be nice weather here in Atlanta, right here in Fulton County. We've got a lot going on as well. So I'll be interested to see what y'all are getting into. All right. And if you haven't, let me know what y'all think about this entire situation with Bryan Kohberger. We're going to get into it here in a second. But man, this situation just keeps getting crazier and crazier. I feel so bad for the families in this. I mean, not only because they lost the lives of their kids, but it's looking like they might not be able to get any clarity when it comes to Bryan Kohberger's intentions. And we're going to get into that too. We've got D says going fishing. The wife is away. Whoop, whoop. Oh man, you're happy. Jeez. That's tough, man. You're happy your wife isn't there. That is something else. Well, enjoy yourself. Good morning. It's Saturday where you're at. Oh, okay. Wow. So shout out to y'all across the pond. Some of y'all must be far away. And shout out to the international gang too. Appreciate y'all being here. All right. So you guys know what I like to do as always. I like to say a big thank you to everyone who goes the extra mile and supports through super chats as well. So many of y'all have already sent in super chats. Big shout out to Debbie for becoming a diamond member. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the love and support. And now that you're a member, you get instant access to any videos we drop here on the channel. You can also check out our exclusive members only content that's on the channel as well. Make sure you do that, and you can actually get an opportunity to have your name highlighted in green and use some of the custom emojis we have too, along with a bunch of other benefits. For a big shout out to all the members. I see a bunch of y'all in here as well. So good to see everybody. Oh, she's at a boat party. Okay. Shout out. Hopefully she has a good time. That sounds good. All right, you guys. I am not going to delay you anymore. We're going to go ahead and get into our first topic today. And man, this is going to be an interesting one. So recently, we're going to talk about it shortly. The gag order that was placed on the Bryan Kohberger trial has been lifted. And now that that's been lifted, we're actually finding out more information about what Bryan Kohberger had going on, some more details about information that went into the investigation and possibly what Bryan Kohberger's intent was. So check this video out from Fox News, and then we'll get into another story a little bit later talking about Bryan Kohberger possibly being open to an interview. Check this out.
So Bryan Kohberger pleading guilty to the murder of 4 Idaho students left many details of the case unexplained without a criminal trial.
It's still unexplained.
Our next guest's new book, The Idaho 4, An American Tragedy, includes an unparalleled look into the quadruple murders after interviewing over 300 individuals connected with the victims, revealing shocking new details about what those closest to the victims believe was the motive. Best-selling author James Patterson joins us now. James, thanks so much for joining the program this morning.
Shout out to James.
Oh, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
So I know you don't want to give up all the goods in the book. I covered this case for months, and I was looking.
I'd give it up if you give me enough time.
Okay, so tell me, what was the motive?
Complicated, and we'll never know. I bet if I talk to him, I bet he doesn't exactly know. He obviously had a big problem with women. We believe he was targeting Maddie, and things had happened. He just gotten fired from his, he was going to lose his scholarship out there at University of Washington State. I'll tell you one thing, anybody listening and watching, if you're disappointed because you're not going to find out what's happening in the trial, everything that would have been covered in the trial is covered in this book. Everything and so much more. Things about the police department there, things about Kohberger, which you're getting into. One of the interesting things is we went down to Pennsylvania, Vicki Ward and I, and he was a heroin addict as a young guy there, and he was breaking and entering into houses. He'd been doing it for years, and that's exactly what happened in Moscow. He broke.
And I'll leave a link to the book for you guys in the description of this video as well. But it's interesting to see that Bryan Kohberger is being alleged that maybe he just saw a target and went after it. This wasn't even, he didn't even plan it like that. He just knew he wanted to go after this person. Allegedly, it's Maddie. We'll wait and hear more information.
Into this house and killed these 4 beautiful students.
So you write this in the book, and I think this is important. The Idaho 4, on the detective knowing Bryan Kohberger. This is one of the detectives assigned to the case. His name is Brett Payne. He says, we think we know who the suspect is, and he's in WSU housing. And then he says his name, Bryan Kohberger. Name, Jenkins thinks, but it's an oddly familiar name. It rings a bell, and then it comes to him. I know that name. He tells the people in the room. He sees astonishment on their faces. I think I interviewed him for an internship position when I was the Pullman chief. I probably have his resume and cover letter in my files. He goes straight back to his office and sends them over. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most people know Bryan was studying criminology. Yeah. And then he tried to get into get a job as an intern in the police department out there. The police department did a terrific job. I mean, they had one bad press conference, but other than that, because Bryan almost committed the perfect murder. Had he not left that chief, there would not have been a trial. They didn't. The evidence they had was, I think, circumstantial, and it wouldn't have happened.
Well, James, I think
the police, and we get into the police. I mean, and the chief of police, who did a terrific job. Everybody did a good job out there, and they got him.
The problem, James, and you're so right about this, and that's why I always said this case was an iffy one going to trial. How they obtained the DNA was the night chief, and if you look at
and that was my issue with this as well. And I really wanted to see the evidence on this, which we may get an opportunity to. But with the knife sheath and them finding this just single trace of DNA, with everything that was going on with this setup, alleged setup, how could that possibly have happened? I guess we're going to find out at some point. Maybe not.
At some of the case, he went back to the house after he committed the crime based on the cell phone data. I think he realized that he had left some of the evidence, but he worked at the crime light as an internship, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how he thought he would get the chief back, but he did go back the next morning, which is pretty insane, but I guess that's probably makes sense.
James, what do you think is the biggest takeaway people are going to learn from this book? Because that's why they would purchase it.
Oh, I look at what Vicki and I tried to do was not to glorify Kohberger, but to get people to feel these 4 students who were murdered and their families. They're 4 beautiful families, and also the kids. You got 2 college towns here. You have Moscow, Idaho, University of Idaho, and then Pullman, Washington State. And you think about whatever college is near your university where your kids go or whatever, and you imagine these murders in one of those small towns or even in a big city like NYU, it's horrifying. It's a horrifying thing. But what we wanted to do is for you to feel as though you were there in that town. The next day, there's been this terrible murder. It's happened to 4, wonderful kids, and they really are wonderful kids. Really, really was such great friends, and had friends all over the campus.
That's sad.
The families who we got to know really well. I've never, so personal in terms of Vicky and I with victims, and I've done a bunch of true crime. I did the Epstein thing way back. And you mentioned 300 interviews. When I did Epstein, we did about 60 interviews.
Wow.
So we really interviewed the hell out of this book. Yeah. And and if you like true crime,
That's
even
awesome.
if you haven't followed this thing, it's an amazing story.
I'll have to
James
check
Patterson,
it out.
you should get his.
Shout out to James Patterson with the Idaho 4. Might have to check that one out. I'll leave the link in the description for you guys. Let's go ahead into this Fox News article and see what actually we could find out in this book and what information we might be able to see from the evidence that was shown and was going to be shown during this trial. The judge says Kohberger's waiver of rights to appeal doesn't mean he doesn't have a right to appeal. Obviously, the judge lifts the gag order and wants Bryan Kohberger confessed. Idaho Judge Stephen Hippler vacated a gag order in the Bryan Kohberger quadruple murder case at a hearing on Thursday. It was yesterday. Lada, hopefully I said that right. Lada County prosecuting attorney notified the court in a filing dated Monday that his office would not oppose a motion for a group of media organizers, including Fox News, seeking to have the order lifted in the wake of Kohberger's guilty pleas on all charges. The intent of the order was to ensure Bryan Kohberger's right to a fair trial, which, of course, I think that was smart on the defense's part, according to the filings. Now that he has admitted to slaying, Madison, Kaylee, Zana, and Ethan, attorneys for the media argue that the gag order is pointless. Hippler agreed, but he said that lifting the order would not automatically unseal court documents, so we might not have all the evidence yet. Those would be made public in batches, he said, upon review by the court. And we're going to actually get into the footage from court when this hearing took place. So if you guys are watching this as a standalone video, make sure you check out that video after this one. He said he would go in reverse chronological order, stating with documents he was most familiar with and moving back in time. The case did not arrive in his courtroom until another judge granted a change of venue in September. In another twist, Hippler also said that though Kohberger's plea requires him to waive his right to appeal, that doesn't mean he doesn't have a right to appeal under the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Graza versus Idaho. Now, I recognize the plea agreement includes a waiver of the right to appeal, he said, but as the parties probably know, the U.S. Supreme Court in Graza versus Idaho has indicated the fact that a defendant waives the right to appeal doesn't mean they don't have the right to appeal. And so it may affect the outcome of that appeal, and it may affect the underlying case and plea agreement. Prosecutors initially requested the order remain in place until after Kohberger's sentencing is made official next week, but the reverse course upon further reflection, according to the latest filing. The defense opposed filing it early. Now that the defendant has pleaded guilty as charged on all 5 counts of the indictment, his right to a fair trial on the issue of guilt is no longer an issue, Thompson wrote. Nevertheless, out of respect for the integrity of the judicial process and the privacy of the victims and their families, as they consider their rights to provide victim impact statements at sentencing, the prosecution team does not intend to make any public statements about the case until after sentencing has concluded. And shout out to the prosecution team for that. I think that's fair. I think that's fair too, because we are going to get to hear from the family. Every last one. Hopefully their parents have a lot to say, and we can hear from the fathers, the mothers, the friends, the family, because so many people were affected by these 4 lives that were lost. And I want to move forward into another topic. Now, this has not been verified, but when it comes to this gag order being released, now that it seems like people who were involved in the trial are free to talk, we may actually be able to get an interview from Bryan Kohberger. This is alleged. I haven't backed this up yet. And as I get more information on if that's happening, I will let you guys know. But check this out. And this is an article that we have from Donna Thomas that says, admitted mass murderer Bryan Kohberger has consented to a sit-down interview, which would be insane. It says Bryan Kohberger has consented to a no holds bar sit down interview this fall. This is alleged, guys. We don't know that this is for sure, but seems like it's something that could be possible. According to well-placed sources, admitted mass murderer Bryan Kohberger at age 30 will give a first-hand account of his actions on November 13th in 2022 in Moscow, Idaho. Kohberger pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree premeditated murder and 1 count of burglary on July 2nd of 2025. The former PhD student admitted to the crimes he was being prosecuted for, thus putting an end to his highly anticipated murder trial set to start in August in Boise, Idaho. Kohberger will be formally sentenced to life without the possibility of parole on July 23rd. So that's coming next week, guys. And you know, we will be here for it. The primetime non-cable network interview will coincide with the 3rd anniversary of the grisly murders of the 4 University of Idaho students in Moscow, Idaho. Kohberger already admitted to unlawfully entering the students' off-campus house at that address through an unlocked door and systematically murdering Madison, Kaylee, Ethan, and Zana. According to the state of Idaho, Kohberger targeted one of the students and used a military-type K-bar knife to carry out the grisly murders. All right. And then we have Kohberger's family to receive payment for supplying never-before-seen pictures. This is interesting. According to sources, it was Kohberger's family that convinced Bryan Kohberger to consent to the interview. What? That's surprising. Amanda Kohberger, 37, has had to move back to her parents' home in Pennsylvania. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Both Kohberger's older sisters, Amanda and Melissa, were working in the mental health care industry. That's ironic. One was terminated. The other resigned shortly after their brother's arrest in December of 2022. According to sources close to the family, they hope with Kohberger's setting the record straight, they can move forward and resume their once very productive lives. That is amazing. They all feel as if they have been under siege and subjected to unfair, endless wrath from the public at large. This was a grown man. There's no reason that people should be going after his family. So let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think Bryan Kohberger could possibly sit down for an interview? I think if he were to do that, that would be a record-breaking interview for sure. And also, we're going to get into later what this gag order being lifted means and some of the information that we're going to see coming out from that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and in the chat. Man, if he does an interview, that would be wild. Court for Melly today? No, there is no court today. We're actually going to do a little bit of a rewind about court for YNW Melly. And we're going to look at what Judge Fiend decided during that court proceeding. So y'all get ready for it. Thank you to everyone who's in here. There's over 800 of you in the building, and nearly 100% of you guys have liked the video. Oh my goodness. Thank y'all for the love, man. Shout out to everybody who's liked the video. If y'all haven't yet, please make sure you like the video on your way in. Guys, on this channel, I beg for likes. You know why? Because it takes less than a second to do, and likes are free. It really does help us out a lot. So if all 800 plus of you that are watching could like the video, I would greatly appreciate it as well. All right, let me see. We got a couple super chats in the building. Shout out to In Blue in the building with the 5-bomb. Says, I appreciate you, ClassE and Amy. Thanks for creating great content, and happy Friday. Happy Friday to you In Blue. And thank you for the support as always. Hopefully y'all are getting ready for a great and exciting weekend. I still wonder why he did not unalive the other 2. Maybe it was a time issue. Maybe he wasn't planning on it. That's an option too. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Maybe he wasn't planning on it. Maybe he didn't think he had enough time. Who knows? This guy needs deep psychological counseling, therapy, or something to understand his lack of life for others. Yet he pleaded guilty because he didn't want to be convicted and executed. Yeah, it's sad to see. Good morning. I've been with this site since the YSL trial. Keep up the good job. Thank you for that. I appreciate everyone who found the channel. That would be an interesting thing. Y'all let me know, everyone who's in here, let me know how y'all found the channel. I would be interested to see what y'all have to say about that and how you found out about us over here. And thank you again. There's so many people in this community that have shared too. Shout out to Kat Knott Williams, the lead attorney has been sharing as well. So big shout out to them for helping bring a lot of y'all over here. So let me know how y'all found the channel, and we'll go ahead and get into our next topic. So as we previously mentioned, the judge in the Bryan Kohberger case went ahead and lifted the gag order. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a little bit of a rewind. We're going to get into this hearing and see what specifically he had to say and how this gag order release is going to go down. Y'all check it out.
All right, we are on the record in State v. Kohberger, CR 0124-31665.
Kat Knott Williams.
Present today by video is the defendant in custody with counsel, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Barlow, and Ms. Massoth. State is represented by Mr. Thompson, Mr. Hurwitz, and Ms. Jennings. On behalf of the media petitioners, we have Ms. Olson and Mr. Pedersen. Today's hearing is to discuss the media's request to...
And you can see Brian up there at the top left of the Zoom meeting.
Terminate the non-dissemination order. The state filed a response indicating it was no longer objecting to that, and the defense did file an objection indicating that they do have a continued objection to lifting the non-dissemination order. I've read the briefs that have been provided by the parties, and I'm going to attempt to shortcut things here a little bit by asking whether the defense, who is the objecting party, has anything additional to add beyond what it had in its briefing before. I don't know that I need to hear from, frankly, the petitioner. I think the briefing was adequate, so let me just start with Ms. Taylor to see if there's anything else she wants to add.
Your Honor, there is not, but if there's further argument, Ms. Barlow will be making that argument on behalf of the defense.
All right.
There you go.
And to be fair, Ms. Wilson, was there anything you felt was important to add that was not contained within your briefing?
Your Honor, we would just briefly say in response to the defendant's brief, we certainly understand the expressed concern about the media coverage of their client. We don't think continuing the non-dissemination order helps that at all. It simply continues to limit the ability of the members of the press to reach out to the people who know the most about the case. It doesn't obligate them to say anything. We
That's
also
fair.
understand that they expressed that there was a due process right related to the sentencing. I read the case that they submitted. I think that there is obviously a due process right at sentencing, but I don't think that case is really it doesn't provide any guidance to the court here, because that was about information provided to the court. And given the very limited scope, and we understand it's very important, but given the very limited scope of what's to be decided at the sentencing, we don't think the arguments that Mr. Kohberger made should outweigh at this stage the First Amendment rights of our clients. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, in light of that response by the media outlets or interested outlets, Ms. Barlow, do you want to add anything?
I would only say, Your Honor, as this court is well aware, the publicity in this case is so extensive and emotions are already so high that adding fuel to the fire of media interviews or a rush to interview people as they leave the courthouse or enter the courthouse would only increase the concerns that the defense has.
That's
and
fair.
Even though the plea has a specific sentence attached to it, as this court is well aware, things happen in plea hearings and, sentencing hearings. And to minimize the possibility of that, we request that this order stay in place.
All right, thank you. All right, as the court has considered the petition, frankly, the court was prepared at the time the plea was entered to lift the non-dissemination order in order to give the parties time to evaluate that and to ensure I wasn't missing anything. When both sides objected, I agreed to continue the non-dissemination order. I also indicated that I would have the potential to look at that again before sentencing, because frankly, I anticipated the motion from somebody, in this case, the Ms. Olson and her clients, was likely to be coming. And At this point, I do not believe the purpose of the non-dissemination order, the primary purpose, which is to ensure that we can seat a impartial jury, is any longer at play. The concerns identified by the defendant, while certainly not to minimize those, they are concerns and they are significant concerns. I do not think, however, the non-dissemination order and the right of the public to information is outweighed or outweighs those rights, I should say. And frankly, I don't think that lifting the non-dissemination order will meaningfully impact those concerns. I mean, the media frenzy, as it has been described, will continue regardless. It is a little bit like water will find low ground. In this case, the media is going to write about something regardless about this case. The lifting the non-dissemination order does not require the counsel or others who were previously bound by it to speak. And the state has indicated that they don't intend to until after the sentencing. And certainly I would hope that the media interests would respect those positions. And
yeah, and again, the state said they didn't want to speak out about anything before the victim impact statements were read by the family or were given by the family. I don't know if they're going to be read or if the family's actually going to be there delivering them. So understandable.
Give people the space that they need and request. In terms of, for example, the defendant's family and others coming and going at the sentencing, we intend to have, as we did before, appropriate security measures in place to ensure that they, as well as the victims, are allowed to get in and out
Spit it out, Judge. Jeez.
Unscathed by the media, if that's what they wish to do, or if they wish to speak to the media, they can do that as well. At this point, I just don't think that I can justify the continuation of the non-dissemination order. I think the rights of the public to information in this case is paramount, given the fact that a plea has been entered in this case, and so I'm going to lift the non-dissemination order. But I want to point out what that means and what it doesn't mean.
Here we go.
So obviously nobody's required to speak to the media, first of all. Second of all, I want to be clear that the court's prior preservation order to the parties is not lifted and continues to stay in place. And so it's important to understand that those obligations still exist. And then the other thing I want to point out is that by lifting the non-dissemination order, that does not convert sealed documents to unsealed documents. Documents previously sealed by the court are still sealed. Now, I see the media also filed a petition to be heard to unseal everything. I'm denying that outright, the request to intervene, because I think it's premature at this point. So the court will its intent is to, after sentencing, begin the process of reviewing all the sealed material in this case to determine what should be unsealed and what should not be unsealed. That process will include an opportunity for counsel to register any objections to unsealing documents, specific documents, and request to redact certain sealed documents before they are unsealed, or unseal them in a redacted form. I intend to do that in groupings of documents at a time. As I sit here now, my thought is I'm going to start from newest to oldest because those are the ones that I have the most working knowledge of as to the reason for the sealing of the documents, as well as the content of those documents. And so I think I can get through those more quickly. As we move backward in time, it's going to take further or more extensive review by the court to figure out, to obviously review the content of those documents, listen to those hearings, et cetera, and determine why they were sealed and whether that rationale still is necessary, or that rationale still requires the documents to maintain that sealed status. And so before everybody gets out there pen and paper and sends in public records requests, understand those will be denied for sealed records until they are unsealed. And that process is going to take time. And I'm not talking days, I'm probably not talking weeks for that to be accomplished. So I hope people understand patience will be required to get through that, as
Hey,
I'm going to have to review those myself to make those decisions. Now, we may be able to speed things up if neither party objects to groupings of documents or specific documents being unsealed. But it's important to review those because those documents may include information that, pursuant to Rule 32, are not to be made public, including birth dates, social securities, information about minors and victims, and information that would be essentially inappropriate to unseal, including protection of individuals from undue harassment, et cetera. And so that's just going to take time. In addition, I'm unlikely to unseal much until after sentencing and after the appeals period has run. Now, I recognize the plea agreement includes a waiver of the right to appeal, but as the parties probably know, the U.S. Supreme Court in Garza versus Idaho has indicated the fact that a defendant waives the right to appeal doesn't mean they don't have the right to appeal. And so it may affect the outcome of that appeal, and it may affect the underlying case and the plea agreement. But nonetheless, the right to appeal does not go away because of the waiver. And so I think it's important for that time period to also play itself out to see that it goes the way that I think people intend and expect it to. And so I will be entering an order in the next week or so outlining the process for the review of the sealed records. And counsel will need to maintain a presence in the case in order to review those materials as they are proposed to be unsealed by the court. Because the timeline that I will likely give you will not be, I suspect, extensive as for each group of records. So I might give you 14 days, for example, to provide a response as to a group of, a dozen or a couple dozen records at a time. So just sort of heads up and fair play with respect to that. Any questions by the parties about the ruling today?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
We want to hear from Bryan.
No
What does
questions
Bryan
from
got
the
to say
defense.
on
Thank
this?
you.
So Olson, do you have any
And
questions?
I don't, Your Honor. I wasn't certain if I was included within the parties. I would just say I think that the court's proposed manner of moving forward on the sealed records will likely largely address our interests, and we appreciate the court setting that out in this hearing today.
Yeah. If certain records after review maintain their sealed status, it would be at that point that I would entertain requests for me to consider that more formally and to have a voice in that. But I think until I've gone through that process, it's premature, which is why I don't intend to take up your motion, your more recent filed motion at this time. So,
Thank you, Your Honor. We appreciate that.
all right. And with that, then we are adjourned. Thank you. I'll see you next week.
So it'll be interesting to see the slow, I guess, drip of this information, especially when it comes to the court proceedings, certain documents that the judge ordered. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments and in the chat. There are so many things that I want to see when it comes to information being released, evidence being released, specifically about the DNA, because essentially the DNA is the biggest thing and the main thing that tied Bryan Kohberger to this case. So I want to know more information about that. Let me know what you guys think. And y'all are being so generous in the building, man. We've got over 900 of y'all in here, over 1,300 people in the building. Oh my goodness. Guys, again, I beg for likes here on this channel. So if you haven't yet, please like the video. Likes are free. It takes less than a second and it really does help the channel continue to grow. Thank you to all 800 plus of you that have done that already. We've got some super chats in here. I'm going to read these real quick and we're going to keep it moving. Shout out to Les Cleaver, my guy, one of the hardest working dudes on this channel. What does he say? He says, Kohberger is one sick dude. Allegedly. Oh, man. I hate to say allegedly, but I don't want to have this conversation because it's going to make a lot of people upset. But Bryan Kohberger has not been proven guilty Let's be clear about that. He took a plea deal and is pleading guilty. But Bryan Kohberger has not been found guilty. Or I should say, he's not been proven guilty. I need to say that the right way. He hasn't been proven guilty. We know, guys, and I'm not saying Bryan Kohberger is innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm saying I don't know. We know there have been innocent people who have taken plea deals. All right. We haven't seen the evidence of this case. We haven't seen the facts of this case. We've seen some. We've seen evidence here. We've seen evidence there. But we never got to really see the case play out. Is there enough? Have we seen enough so far for some people to believe that, yes, he 1000% did this? Sure, maybe. But I don't know that I'm one of those people. But at the end of the day, he's pleading guilty. He's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. And to some people, that's all that matters. So, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. He had some issues, but I don't know that for sure. Shout out to Les Cleaver. Amy is in here as well, dropping and gifting the 5 memberships. Shout out to Amy for the 5 memberships. If you got a membership from Amy, make sure you guys say thank you. All right. Show her some appreciation, giving you a chance to get access to the members only content. You get an opportunity to be the first to access any videos we drop here on the channel. So big shout out to Amy for showing some love. We got Kara Hampton in the building with the 10 bombs. She says, I'm late, but I made it. Happy Friday, y'all. Hope everyone has a fantastic weekend on purpose. You know what time it is. Stay cool, dry, or warm, whatever, wherever you're watching from. Shout out to Kara Hampton. Always showing up, always showing love, and reminding us to have a great day on purpose. It's up to you. We got Amy in here with the cake already. Amy's be going crazy with the cake in here. Thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. And again, big shout out and thank you to everyone who's just joining us. Make sure y'all like the video on your way in. I see Bonnie in here. We got a ton of members in the building. We have Sharon in here. Good afternoon. We've got Jay Buckmasters back in the building as well. Appreciate y'all being in here. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into our next topic. Now, guys, I almost didn't cover this. But because it's in the news and some interesting things have happened, we got to talk about it. All right, we got to talk about it. Well, once he said he did it, that's the proof that he did it. What? Why admit to 4 murders if you're innocent? Oh, Jessica. People do it all the time. People do it all the time, every day. People plead guilty to things that they didn't actually do. So I think that's a terrible argument, respectfully. And saying just because somebody pleads guilty to something, that automatically means that they did it. I don't agree with that at all. There's enough proof that the legal educated defendant pled guilty. He knows he was going to be found guilty based on the evidence. Yeah, knowing that you're going to be found guilty and being guilty are 2 different things. I know you guys might not want to agree with me on that, but it's just the truth. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying one thing or the other. I'm saying he's pleading guilty. Some people, that's all that matters. I don't know if he did it or not. That's all I'm saying. And I try to be fair and even on that one. But that's a hard thing for a lot of people to hear. They say, what if it was God forbid, what if it was somebody close to you? Or guys, you can look up the cases where people have pled guilty and they've been innocent. We saw it in multiple trials in the past, specifically the YSL trial. It's a little bit different. I would have liked to see 1000%. I would have liked to see more. I am not sure. I don't think anybody can be sure except for maybe the people who've seen the evidence one way or the other, right? There's a lot of questions. If someone's telling you they know, they don't know. And Amy said it, pleas are safer than trials. Man, y'all want to trust it? I'm not going to get into it. Amy's 1000% right. Trials are risky. Prosecutors often stack charges to intimidate defendants, even if someone is innocent. They might face decades in prison if they lose at trial. And this man, he might be executed if he goes to trial. A plea deal might offer probation or a much lighter sentence. For many, it feels like there's the safer bet, especially if they can afford a strong defense. Yeah, it happens every single day. Every single day it happens. So it's just one of those things, we have to accept about the system. And with him taking a plea, we won't be able to see all of the evidence. And I've even had this stance in the Naziah Harris trial. As much as I want to see Jarvis Butts thrown under the jail and never see the light of day again, when it comes to the things that he was doing with Naziah Harris, who was a minor at the time, I think on that alone, and we've seen the evidence there. We've seen the text messages and the communication in the preliminary hearings. Just get rid of this guy. I mean, get him out of there. But when it comes to her death and her murder, the legal system requires that the prosecution prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Jarvis Butts killed and disposed of Naziah Harris. If they are not able to do that, then he could possibly be found not guilty. Now, he'll be found guilty of whatever he was doing with Naziah Harris as a minor, which is, I think, enough for him to be buried under the jail. But when it comes to that specific charge, they still have to prove that. You are still, under the law, innocent until proven guilty. And that's the way it is. I just go with my gut. That's fine if you're looking at it from the court of public opinion. But I would like to think that if you guys are sitting on a jury for a certain case, that you would actually look at the facts and the evidence presented at trial and not necessarily go with your gut. But again, that's exactly why people don't want to take things to trial. That's why people take pleas, because there's folks out there who say, I'm just going to go with my gut. Look at that man. He said misogynist things against women. He's definitely guilty. What? He never had a chance. Pressure from public defenders or prosecutors, overworked public defenders may encourage plea deals to avoid drawn out cases. Prosecutors sometimes make aggressive offers with time limits. Take the deal today, or we go for the max. This can corner people into pleading guilty under duress. Can't afford a defense. Legal representation is expensive. If someone can't afford a good lawyer, they might plead out just to avoid sitting in jail for months awaiting a trial, or being buried under legal fees, or putting their life in the hand of a jury. They're tired, scared, hopeless. Y'all ever heard of Munk Tunk? We've talked about it here on the show, especially if they've been sitting in pretrial detention or facing repeated court dates. People sometimes plead guilty just to get it over with, even if they didn't do it. Excuse me. Yeah, and they could be in Rice Street. Who wants to stay in Rice Street for anything over a minute? This is common among young people, marginalized groups, or those unfamiliar with the justice system. They're protecting someone. Sometimes a person pleads guilty to protect a family member, partner, or co-defendant, especially in emotionally complex or manipulative situations. And again, guys, I'm not playing devil's advocate. It's called being objective. A lot of you guys get your emotions caught up in some of these trials, and it's understandable. You want to say, oh, well, you want to empathize and say, oh, if it were me, I've seen enough. They have his DNA. Get him out of here. People said the same thing about Karen Reed. They said the same thing about Young Thug. They said the same thing about ASAP Rocky. With no jury at all. I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm being objective. And if you don't believe that, go and look at the receipts. I've looked at every single case this same way, and objectively, the law says that you are innocent until proven guilty. That's just So that's just what I stand on. Not only was his defense fully manned, it was well resourced. People do take pleas for lesser punishment, but agreeing to murder and you're innocent just doesn't make sense unless you're facing the death penalty. Ah, man. All right. I could spend all day on this, but we're not going to get into it. Did I read all of what Amy said? Yeah, sometimes people plead guilty. They don't trust the system. I don't. That's why I stay out of the system. If someone believes the system is rigged or that no one will believe them, they might plead guilty just to avoid the trauma of fighting a system they feel is already against them. Bottom line is pleading guilty doesn't always mean someone is guilty. It doesn't. It often means they're cornered, overwhelmed, or trying to avoid a much worse outcome. It's one of the most sobering realities of the criminal judicial system. I'm not calling it a justice system. You probably don't remember me because I haven't been in a while. Shout out to Two Fly. Good to see you in here. Yes, in October. Oh, the Naziah Harris trial. That's a guy I want to. He needs to go ahead and burn. We've seen enough evidence to know he's going to be in jail for a long, long time, and it's not going to be easy. That does happen, but this wasn't that. I'd like to see how much was spent. Well, how do you know? I don't know. It's gangs being brainwashed, revenge, George, by own gang members. People wouldn't really understand until they're out in this type of situation. You don't even have to be in the situation, guys. Just go look up how many stories do you see or have you seen in the past to where guy that was wrongfully convicted in jail for 30 years gets out and you see him crying. And maybe somebody comes forward and is like, sorry, I lied back at that time 20 years ago. My bad. People who have had, go and look, guys. This would be, I'm not going to do this right now. Look at cases where someone's DNA has been found. Single trace DNA has been found on an X and Y and a Z. There was no other DNA around. This person, they had no choice. They either pled guilty or was found guilty. 10, 20, 25, 30 years later, it comes out, we did some new research and we looked into this case through the Innocence Project, and it turns out actually he wasn't guilty. Wow. Shocker. It happens. It happens all the time. So I'm not comfortable saying that Bryan Kohberger did this at this point because we haven't seen the evidence. The prosecution didn't prove beyond the reasonable doubt that he was, but I will concede that he pled guilty, and I'll just leave it at that. All right. Yeah, and we have, hey, listen, differing opinions are welcome here. We can have differing opinions. Everybody can give their perspective, and sometimes we can agree to disagree. You got to know evil. You got to know evil. Pretend you don't know men's chess games. Understand now. Oh man, I'm not sure what you're saying there. I tried though. Loving ClassE and Amy's opinions and that people feel comfortable in this space, even if opinions differ. Yeah, y'all please bring your differing opinions. I love having these type of conversations with y'all. One more thing from Amy, and we're going to move on to the next topic. Alfred Dwayne Brown, accused of killing a police officer during a robbery in 2003. Plea pressure. Prosecutors offered a deal to avoid the death penalty. Sound familiar? He refused, but others in similar cases have pled out to avoid execution, even when innocent. He was exonerated 12 years later. Phone records proved he was at home. He spent 10 years on death row for a crime he didn't commit. Thank you for that, Amy. Shout out to Amy for being amazing. I think that's a good point to move on. And you could find case after case after case where that happened. We're not going to do that here. You guys can do your research. We got smart people on this channel. We got objective folks in here. All right, guys, I was not going to talk about this, but because of all the news that's been circulating about this CEO of Astronomer, I had to cover it here. Guys, this story is so insane that you won't believe some of the things that are happening, from finding out about people who knew what was going on between the CEO and his alleged head of HR, to fake letters being written, fake apology letters being written and posted online, and people actually believing that it happened. So if you guys are unfamiliar with what happened, I'm going to play the video for you. It's just 14 seconds so you guys can see what happened and what did this CEO do. Oh man, check this out.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two.
Shout out to Andy.
All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
And it's crazy that he said either they're having an affair or he's very shy.
I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Oh, look at these two.
Look at these faces, guys. Look at these faces. One, Andy. Andy. Why would you do this in public? And two, to the HR director, I don't remember her name, but what were you guys thinking here? What was the plan? Why would you do this in public? Coldplay, I don't think they had any idea that this was going to happen. Shout out to them for exposing this situation. But after this happened, everybody has been talking about this. They've been digging, doing research, finding out who these people are. Turns out it's the CEO of a technology company and his head of HR, which is absolutely crazy. Now, both of them are married, but they're not married to each other, which makes this even more crazy. Which is even crazier is there's people who were with them that work for the same company that knew this was going on behind the scenes. Now, I'm not going to get into talking about Andy's wife and what was going on there. I'll let y'all handle that. But something interesting went down over the past couple days since this news broke. And TMZ reports on it, and I'm going to show this letter to you guys as well. What do they say? The Coldplay concert / CEO busted. It wasn't me behind the statement. His company says it's fake. So there's actually been a statement from Andy and his company. Check this out. In a new twist in the viral Coldplay concert scandal, the company behind the CEO busted in the alleged affair says a supposed statement from Andy Byron has gone viral is totally fake. If you guys want to see the statement here, I've got the statement right here. What does it say? First of all, this tweet says Astronomer CEO Andy Byron issued a statement following a viral video that appeared to expose an alleged affair between himself and his HR director. The moment happened at a Coldplay concert in Boston. Byron apologized to his wife, family, and company. And this is the letter that they're saying is fake. The statement from CEO Andy Byron. On July 17th, I acknowledge the moments that's been circulating online and the disappointment it's caused. What was supposed to be a night of music and joy turned into a deeply personal mistake, playing out in a very public stage. I want to sincerely apologize to my wife, my family, and the team at Astronomer. You deserve better from me as a partner, as a father, and as a leader. This is not who I want to be or how I want to represent the company I helped build. I'm taking time to reflect, to take accountability, and to figure out next steps personally and professionally. As for privacy, as I navigate that process, I also want to express how troubling it is that what should have been a private moment became public without my consent. This is why you know it's fake. You're at a concert, man. Come on now. I respect artists and entertainers, but I hope we can all think more deeply about the impact of turning someone else's life into a spectacle. As a friend once sang, lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. He quoted Coldplay. Now, you guys can't see this on the screen, but the person who posted this is alleging that they're from CBS News. Well, of course, the person alleging that they're from CBS News, maybe you guys can see it here. His name is Peter Ennis. If you put his initials together, you guys can do the math. Hey, yo. The first letter of his first name plus his last name, you can see what it means. Obviously, this was fake. Byron's company, Astronomer, tells TMZ the statement floating around on social media, purportedly written by Andy himself to address the alleged affair, is not a real statement. The faux statement was posted late Thursday after the now infamous video went viral showing CEO Andy hugging Astronomer's HR chief, Kristen Cabot, that's her name, Kristen, during Wednesday night's Coldplay concert in Boston. The alleged couple ended up on the big screen, and both of them immediately tried to hide when they realized they were on full display. Frontman Chris Martin even made a remark about them possibly having an affair, which was wild. The clip, originally posted by a concert goer, racked up millions of views, and internet sleuths started digging in both execs' online profiles and discovered they're both married to other people. Neither has commented on all the confirmed online chatter, which is why the supposed statement from Andy circulated so quickly. The phony document even featured a quote from Cosplay's song Fix You, which is hilarious. When asked the company rep if Andy plans to issue an official statement about the controversy, like for real this time, but they have not responded. Wow. Now, there's also news coming out about this person who was next to them knew what was going on and was recently promoted, which is absolutely insane as well. I haven't found more information about her, but this situation is absolutely insane. I'll be interested to see what the company ends up doing, because for Astronomer, I mean, this could be a good thing. This could be a bad thing. This could be something they want to keep in the news cycle because maybe it makes more people aware of what's going on in Astronomer. And then, as y'all know, 1000%, Andy is going to be out of there. Andy ain't got no job, so he's done. And of course, Kristen, she's going to be up out of there too. Hilarious that the head of HR is participating in this type of workplace activity. I mean, I can't imagine what those conversations would be like after this if they were to keep her on. What do you guys think is going to happen from this? Let me know what you think in the comments and in the chat. Do you think Andy should issue a statement? Do you think he should just let it go and deal with the ramifications at home, at work? What a mess. I can't wait to see what y'all say about this. Her name is Alyssa Stoddard. I saw something on X. I didn't want to report on it because it was from like the New York Post, and the New York Post, they be out here tripping. But I'll report it to you guys real quick. New York Post. Okay, here we go. They posted something earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Here's the moment it happened. I think it was the New York Post. Maybe I could be mistaken. Oh, there we go. Just promoted Astronomer VP of HR Alyssa Stoddard, identified by the internet sleuths as embarrassed woman on cosplay kiss cam. Ow. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I just had to mention it because everybody's talking about this. These HR execs should probably take another look at their own handbook. The embarrassed woman captured on the Coldplay kiss cam with two-timing tech honcho and his mistress employee. Good grief, man. This is why I don't like the New York Post. Has been identified by the internet sleuth as the vice president of the company's human resource division, who was promoted just days before attending the concert with the alleged adulterers. Alyssa Stoddard, whose brand new title is vice president of people at Astronomer, was caught on the Jumbotron footage blushing and smiling nervously as the apparent cheaters scrambled to hide their faces at the show in Foxborough, Massachusetts. What is going on in that area, man? There's always something there. Wednesday night, according to the online detectives, Stoddard was promoted to the powerful position at the tech and data firm by Kristen Cabot, the company's chief of HR, who was exposed canoodling with the company's CEO. Oh my gosh. This post has not independently identified Stoddard, who did not respond to messages requesting comment on Friday. All right, there it is. We got a little bit of drama for y'all today. Oh man, this is crazy. That's an Oscar speech. Yeah, hugging. They were holding each other. Yeah, I really need to stop being late to these. We spilling tea. Yeah, I don't spill tea like that usually, but man, that was absolutely insane. The divorce courts got 2 new cases, perhaps allegedly. Yeah, I saw someone, they posted a video of a guy sitting at a fancy restaurant, tasting and smelling some wine, and the caption said, this is Andy Byron's defense, or Andy Byron's divorce attorney right now. He's out there living life. This is crazy. Y'all give me 1 second.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
All right, that's enough of that, man. Oh gosh, let me see what y'all are saying in the chat. That's tough, man. I feel kind of bad for him. You gotta do better, man. Caught in 4K. Yeah, they both got caught. Yes. That was rough. All right, so let me go ahead. We're gonna get into YNW Melly here and see what happened during his court proceedings, because man, oh man, there's always something with this YNW Melly trial. As y'all know, let me go ahead and get this updated. Oh man. So YNW Melly's trial is supposed to start in a couple of months. And of course, we've been having these hearings and there's been so much back and forth between the prosecution and the defense. We even saw a couple of weeks ago, YNW Melly getting into it with his own defense team. They were trying to hold off on the court proceedings. They wanted to wait. YNW Melly said, hey, listen, I can't do this anymore. You guys need to get us to trial. We need to get this over with so I can figure out what's going on. Now we've got another situation. Judge Fiend is going to have to go after the prosecution again. for trying to pull some BS and go above his head. He was not happy, and neither was the defense. Y'all check this out. Wow, wow, wow. Let me know if y'all could hear okay. Because the mics in this courtroom sometimes are a little bit iffy. Here we go.
Yes, sir. I have my secretary get a date.
Yeah, I don't think Mr. Haddad knows the 4 dates are available. I think it's August 16th and 17th and September. No, we told them.
The lawyers, Mr. Haddad, your co-counsel or your opposing counsel, they can give you the dates and times. I'm in another capital case right now. I have 4 hearing dates left available between now and September the 10th. I gave the parties those 4 dates, and I'm holding all of those dates and times open only for these 2 defendants. So anything that you need me for, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that takes care of Mr. Henry. Mr. Mathis is Mr. Rares' client, so let me just skip on that one for a second. So the bottom of page 2 is Jamel Demons. I've got Mr. Benjamin here, Mr. Liston here, Ms. Liberty here, likewise Mr. Gross in person, Ms. Collins on Zoom. So I got the following. I got a state motion to stay the July 9th order setting the trial on September the 10th. I got the state's motion to stay order compelling Detective Luna to answer certified questions, and
all these motions to stay. They don't want to move forward.
To Apple iCloud that I previously ordered to be disclosed to me. And then lastly, I got a defense motion to require the state to divulge the existence of other search warrants involving Attorney Raven Liberty. I did read the motions as well as all the authority and the rules.
No, this is his second trial.
I also read the state's petition for writ of certiorari that was filed with the 4th District Court of Appeals on July 14th, 2025. So let's just take them in order. State the motion to stay the order compelling Detective Luna to answer certified questions in order compelling affidavit to Apple iCloud. Anything else that you want to tell me is supporting the motion?
No, I think the court's aware of the motion, the fact that the state has now sought circuit court.
All right, defense, your position on their request.
I think you already ruled it. Denied it.
All right, so let me, on this one, I'm going to grant it in part and deny it in part. Okay, I still want you to turn it over to me. So that order, denied as to that. I want you to turn the affidavit over to me. As to the first part that I ordered the detective to answer the questions, that's the sole issue that's been raised in this petition for writ of certiorari to the 4th DCA. They are seeking review of the trial court's order compelling the state to permit the deposition of an investigator in an ongoing, wholly separate investigation. And the conclusion of their petition, page 27, it says, the state respectfully requests that this honorable court grant the petition of writ of certiorari and quash the trial court's order compelling Detective Luna's testimony, and thus preserving the integrity of the unrelated ongoing criminal investigation. So as to her testimony only, because you're going to turn the affidavit over to me, state paragraph 7 of your motion, you're asking me to be stayed for 30 days?
Yes, Judge. I think we have 30 days to file our appeal, and hopefully that the court will give us an answer then, or they'll say it if they're taking
so many delays. Crazy.
So over the defense objection, and I certainly understand the defense's objection, I think I'm compelled to grant that part at least for 30 days that the state's asking for. Of course, pending I hear something from the 4th DCA, and hopefully I'll hear something from the 4th DCA sooner than 30 days, and that will resolve the issue.
Well, Judge, I believe you already ruled on that particular issue.
Yeah, I did.
And what I suggest you want to consider is that opposed to staying, I'd like to take the deposition for 30 days. The state will wait. We won't wait, but depending upon what the 4th DCA does, and usually they act on writs like this rather quickly, I would ask Your Honor not to stay for the 30-day period. We'll agree to wait a week to set her down for that.
You want me to stay it
Yeah, it's a mess.
for 30 days, or for when we hear from the 4th DCA, whichever date arrives sooner? And that's fine with me. If they deny this, it's fine. You can take her depo the next day.
Exactly.
Because I already ordered that you could.
Yes.
But if they're going to tell me, they're the higher authority, and if they're going to tell me I got that one wrong, I guess that's what they'll say. But I don't think so. She's an A-witness, but do that as a man.
May I have 1 second? Sure.
Judge, while they're doing that, I just have one thing on the record. Your Honor,
You know, Melly is not feeling that.
that they filed, the state filed, or the AG filed in the fourth. I read it a couple times last night, and I was aghast at disingenuousness for them not even telling the court that Your Honor made a ruling and defined what an ongoing investigation was and denied there's an ongoing investigation. So the fourth, looking at that paper, will not even know what your ruling is until somebody else brings it to their attention.
I don't know that I necessarily disagree with that, but my opinion on it is
Understood.
Yeah, I read it. All right, so that's that one. So the order, that's going to be granted in part. It's denied as follows. I still want the state to turn over the affidavit in support of the warrants to me, so I can have them and review them. And if we get a ruling from the full DCA, I can distribute those accordingly. It stayed only as to the deposition of Detective Luna compelling her to answer those questions for a period of 30 days, or in the alternative, until we hear from the 4th District Court of Appeal, whichever of those dates comes sooner. So I'll enter a written order that reflects this.
Dang.
I'll be bringing it over this afternoon. All right, the state's motion to stay the trial date, September the 10th. State, anything else you want to tell me for that?
No, Judge, same issue.
So there's September 10th.
My understanding is that the Attorney General is also going to be petitioning the court through the open appeal to stay.
Yeah, so at this point, the state's motion to stay the September 10th trial date, that's going to be denied because there is no pending appeal right now. If that changes,
Course going forward.
as they did with this, they'll come back and see me. I'm not
Good.
expecting anything in the future, but right now, the only relief that's been sought by the 4th DCA, to the 4th DCA, with regard to Detective Luna's testimony being compelled, nothing else. So the state motion to stay, my order setting the September 10th, 2025 trial date, that one respectfully is going to be denied. I'll enter the appropriate written order. Both cases remain set for trial September the 10th. Lastly, defense, the motion to require the state to divulge the existence of other search warrants involving Attorney Raven Liberty. I did read the motion. I think that's just requires a yes or no answer from the state. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, and that was going into Raven Liberty's phone being picked up. She wanted to know why. They were going to tell Melly, talk to Melly about it, and the judge essentially was going to let Melly make a decision on whether he wanted to keep his current team or let them go because of the issues that they're having with the prosecution and the DA's office, essentially. It's just a whole mess, man. It's a whole mess.
Well, it does require a yes or no, but if there's more than one, at least the number of warrants, because the last warrant, or the only warrant, was issued in 23, or 23. So they may have issued warrants on her 24 and also 25. So we would like to know the number of warrants in the system.
Just to augment that, Judge, one comment or one argument. The state got up here and exhaustively argued the last time we were before, Your Honor, that this is a different case, this new case of the investigation of Ms. Liberty. I just want to bring it to the court's attention that it is an allegation of witness tampering. That's what the allegation is in what little we were able to see. What witnesses are being tampered with? I would bet body parts. It's a witness or more in the murder case. So it's not some unrelated, absolutely, attenuated issue. It's about this case, the murder case, the first-degree murder, punishable by death, and the witnesses the state are going to call. So I just wanted Your Honor to understand why we're seeking at least the existence of and the number of warrants there may be, so we don't get surprised again on this kind of stuff.
I don't need to. But the state from day one, upon us learning about the warrant, has come into this court numerous times to say two things. One, it's interrelated to the murder. And two, they're going to use some of the tampering evidence, or they're going to try to, as consciousness of guilt in the murder case. And they've represented that from the first day we learned of the warrant, and they have gone by that premise as we stand here.
State your response to their request.
That we're going to be objecting. Again, this goes to the fact that there's an open investigation. Unfortunately, no matter how I potentially answer this question, it opens up a can of worms. But I respectfully am going with this still remains an open investigation, and I'm not willing to disclose anything at this point in time based upon, how far-reaching or not far-reaching it may be.
So they're still withholding information that YNW Melly could use to make a decision moving forward. They should be able to have all of this information if it applies to the trial. They're saying, oh, it's an ongoing investigation.
Stop the cap.
Come on, guys.
Okay. So over the state's objection, I'm going to grant the defense motion.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
To require the state to divulge the existence of other search warrants involving Attorney Raven Liberty. I'll enter a written order. State, I'm going to give you by the end of the day. I think this is as simple as sending an email to Mr. Benjamin and the rest of the defense team and saying either no, there aren't any other warrants, or yes, there are. But I would view, if there are additional warrants, I would view them no differently than what we've already done. I think the defense would be entitled to a copy of the warrant, and I think the defense would be entitled to a copy of what was returned as a result of the warrant. And then as far as the affidavit in support of said warrant, again, that's something I'm waiting for the full DCA to get guidance.
Understood. Just so the court's aware, I've already consulted the AG on this. They're most likely going to incorporate the court's ruling today into the writ that's already been filed, but I'm going to consult with them first, and then I'll let the court know which way they intend to handle this.
So you want me to put 5 days on that then?
I'll have an answer. Honestly, I think I'll have an answer by the end of the day if you just give me until tomorrow at the very least.
Okay, so the defense motion is granted over the state's objection. And you need to disclose, that's a yes or no. And if so, how many additional warrants have been sought?
Good.
Involving Attorney Raven Liberty, and that's due by the close of business tomorrow, which is Thursday, July 17th.
Well, yeah, Les asked a great question. He said, why is there still an ongoing investigation if they have filed charges against him? Because his attorney, his current attorney, y'all saw him sitting next to Raven Liberty, is being accused of witness tampering, and that applies directly to the case. So what the DA's office is saying is, like, although while this is directly related to and tied to the case, we don't feel that we should have to give the defense information on that ongoing investigation, why we're looking into Raven Liberty, what we're looking into Raven Liberty for, and what possibly could be other warrants that were issued for her information. What the defense is arguing is because of that, and because it relates directly to YNW Melly, he has constitutional rights to know and understand what's going on so he can decide if he wants to keep Raven Liberty as his attorney, if he wants to keep his other attorneys on his team as well. So now that's their way, the defense's way of finding out more information of what the prosecution's up to. Interesting game of back and forth. But as you guys heard, Judge Fiend ruled and granted the defense's request.
Enter written order as such. State, anything else I can do for you regarding Mr. Devins today?
No, Your Honor. I'll be filing motions as the court has suggested in terms of severance, and I'll also consult the Attorney General in terms of the writ if there's going to be a separate motion or a separate petition, or whether they're going to file it in the existing appeal. Which is what my understanding is going to be, is they're going to file it in the existing appeal.
Defense, anything else?
Just excuse me, did you say you were filing a motion for severance?
When it comes to Raven Liberty, there's a whole lot
Fred,
of
I'll
nothing there.
contact you. We'll figure out how best to handle it, but I need to talk to Ms. Buckaloo and Ms. Collins as well in terms of how to do it, because I'm not lead on this. I have to talk to my superiors.
Defense, anything else? Mr. Haddad, anything else I can do for you today?
No, sir.
Okay, so listen, those 4 motion dates, I've already instructed my judicial assistant, and I'll send her another email today that those 4 dates are just for you all. Whatever dates and times you want to use, I'll sign the orders today, and I'll see you, sounds like prior to those trial dates on September.
Thank you.
As far as Mr. Mathis, Mr. Haddad, you want to stand in for Mr. Raris today? I'm just going to leave Mr. Mathis's case set for trial September 20th with the understanding that my intention is to go forward on the murder cases. The tampering cases were just set at the same date as placeholders for lack of a better term.
And that's it for YNW Melly. Dirty, nasty games prosecution's playing. They've just delayed. We are, what do you say, September 10th? We are less than 7 weeks away from getting into this YNW Melly trial. Y'all know we're going to cover it here. Let me know what you think about this. Is there going to be something there when it comes to Raven Liberty? And why is the prosecution continuing to push back against the defense having this information to present their case? Doesn't make sense. Judge Fiend, he's been abundantly patient with them when it comes to ruling on this, but it seems like the defense is getting all the information they need. Let me know what y'all think in the comments and in the chat. Why anyone have tattoos on their face? What? Hey, to each their own, man. I don't judge. It's your body, is your choice, I guess. That's what they say, isn't it? Then they don't want this detective to answer any questions. This has shady written all over it. I agree. Now they want a higher court to back up their BS. Shaking my head. And Judge Fiend, he's already ruled on this multiple times. And we saw he had to tell the prosecution multiple times, listen, guys, I gave you an instruction. You need to do this, whether you want to or not. And the prosecution was like, I don't think we're going to do that. So there we go. Oh, I need to change this audio back. Thank y'all for letting me know about the audio too. We got it fixed. Appreciate you. Thank you to all 1,400 of you guys that have liked the video. I appreciate it so much. I have no idea how much that helps out. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Maybe you do have an idea because I say it every single day. Thank you to Amy for reminding y'all to like the video. And we're going to keep it moving because we got a few more topics to get into. Well, I say a few more. We've got about 4 or 5 of them things left. So let me get this in here. We're going to go back to Bryan Kohberger and get into and talk about a little bit more about what's going on with this gag order and what information is potentially going to be released here. So let me get this. Okay, there we go. And we got Bryan Kohberger up there. All right, y'all check this out. So recently, when it comes to the Bryan Kohberger trial, a gag order has been lifted, and now we're going to slowly but surely find out more information about what evidence was going to be presented during this case, what went on during the court proceedings that we weren't able to see before the proceedings took place, now that Bryan Kohberger has pled guilty. All right, so we're going to get an update here from Court TV. Let me know what you guys think.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are going to get you back inside of that Washington State courtroom soon, but we have some breaking news out of Idaho where Bryan Kohberger is now in court today ahead of the sentencing that we are expecting to happen next week.
Kohberger, who pled guilty earlier this month to murdering 4 University of Idaho students back in 2022, is back in court today where the judge is hearing arguments over lifting the gag order that is in place in this case. Let's listen in just for a moment.
The counsel or others who were previously bound by it to speak, and the state has indicated that they don't intend to until after the sentencing. And certainly I would hope that the media interests would respect those positions and give people the space that they need and request. In terms of, for example, the defendant's family and others coming and going at the sentencing, we intend to have, as we did before, appropriate security measures in place to ensure that they, as well as the victims, are allowed to get in and out unscathed by the media, if that's what they wish to do, or if they wish to speak to the media, they can do that as well. At this point, I just don't think that I can justify the continuation of the non-dissemination order. I think the rights of the public to information in this case is paramount, given the fact that a plea has been entered in this case, and so I'm going to lift the non-dissemination order. But I want to point out what that means and what it doesn't mean. So obviously nobody's required to speak to the media, first of all.
That's true.
Second of all, I want to be clear that the court's prior preservation order to the parties is not lifted and continues to stay in place. And so it's important to understand that those obligations still exist. And then the other thing I want to point out is that by lifting the non-dissemination order, that does not convert sealed documents to unsealed documents. Documents previously sealed by the court are still sealed. Now,
yeah, we're going to need them things unsealed. All right. I need to find out what was going on, what actually happened here. Come on.
I see the media also filed a petition to be heard to unseal everything. I'm denying that outright, the request to intervene, because I think it's premature at this point. So the court will its intent is to, after sentencing, begin the process of reviewing all the sealed material in this case to determine what should be unsealed and what should not be unsealed. That process will include an opportunity for counsel to register any objections to unsealing documents, specific documents, and request to redact certain sealed documents before they are unsealed, or unseal them in a redacted form. I intend to do that in groupings of documents at a time. As I sit here now, my thought is I'm going to start from newest to oldest, because those are the ones that I have the most working knowledge of as to the reason for the sealing of the documents, as well as the content of those documents. And so I think I can get through those more quickly. As we move backward in time, it's going to take further, more extensive review by the court to figure out, to obviously review the content of those documents, listen to those hearings, et cetera, and determine why they were sealed and whether that rationale still is necessary, or that rationale.
And you guys let me know what you think about this. As a family member of one of the victims in this trial, would you want this unsealed before? Would you want everything unsealed before you gave your victim impact statement and before the sentencing? Or do you think it's fair for them to wait until a later date, as the judge said, because he already denied just releasing everything. And he said he's going to slowly release all the information that was sealed, and he's going to have to determine what that looks like. Sentencing is Wednesday, so we'll have to wait and see.
Still requires the documents to maintain that sealed status. And so before everybody gets out their pen and paper and sends in public records requests, understand those will be denied for sealed records until they are unsealed. And that process is going to take time. And I'm not talking days. I'm probably not talking weeks.
Just unseal
it. There you have it. The non-dissemination order being lifted will be lifted, meaning that the people that were required not to say a word can now speak if they are willing. Judge Hippler mentioning that the state does not intend to say a word until after next week's sentencing.
But the sealing of certain records, 168 orders for sealing had happened in this case, which is excessive compared to a lot of other cases, but that is going to remain in place until the judge looks into that more.
Jack Rice with us. Let's start with the plea deal. The prosecutor Thompson entered into this. Some of the families are all in, others are adamantly against this plea deal, which spares Kohberger's life. He doesn't get any appeals. What's your overall thought on that process when you put your prosecutor hat on? What goes into that, and what do you think of it?
Well, a big part of it is certainty. What you get is a saving of the next 20 years of appeals. And what you get is you never know. There were some interesting aspects in terms of some of the rulings in this case, some of the evidence that potentially could have been introduced, what happened with the DNA that was found from his father in Pennsylvania, how that was actually extracted and used and then tested, I think, down in Texas, and whether or not that could actually come in, or if it did, was it appropriate? All of those issues could have gone up on appeal. And to avoid that and to get the certainty of it is one of the things that I think this community wanted collectively. But of course, there are going to be some people who are absolutely outraged by it. And you do have to listen to the victims and the victims' families. At the same time, they can't be beholden and be shackled by what they always want. And in this case, it was split. Some wanted it, some didn't. This was a very hard decision from a prosecutorial standpoint.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. And when we're seeing him, Jack, there in those prison clothes, that is how we are going to see him going forward. He is not going to be able to be in civilian clothes, a shirt and tie. He's going to be in his jail garb, even at that sentencing that's happening next week. Ted, you'll be there.
Yes, it will, and it'll be his last court appearance, theoretically, as long as he is not accused of other crimes.
I don't think it's going to be his last court appearance. I think there's some appeals coming down the pipe. We'll see.
Next week when he appears in court for the final sentencing. We'll get a break. Thanks to Jack Rice. Back after this.
All right, shout out to Court TV for that. So now that we see this moving forward, we have this information. We heard that the family, they were torn on this. They wanted some of them wanted the information release. Others did not want the information release. It's just a tough situation to be in. A lot of you are even in the comments and in the chat saying that, let's just wait until after the sentencing because you don't want anything to mess up this guilty plea that we already have. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat as well. I'm no legal expert, but watching the Karen Reed case and Judge Bev, stuff being held back from paying from the paying public is not a good look. That's a fair point. I mean, are we going to be fair on both sides? I don't know. We're going to keep it moving. Let me double check and make sure I didn't miss anybody. Let me see. Actually, I think I want to skip this one because I want to talk about this book. We mentioned it a little bit earlier and got to hear from the gentleman who wrote this book. But now we're going to check out ABC News because they're saying a lot more detail is being revealed in this book. Obviously, now that we have this gag order released, and it's almost lays out everything that we've been wondering, and a lot of what we've been wondering about what Bryan Kohberger was thinking and what the family was thinking when it comes to why maybe their children were targeted, conversations that were taking place back and forth. And again, I'll leave the link to the book in the description for you guys as well. Let's check out what ABC News has.
Tonight's shocking insights and theories in a case that gripped the nation, the Idaho college murders. Brought to light by a team that includes a man well-suited for such work, best-selling crime and thriller writer James Patterson. Here's ABC's Kena Whitworth.
Nearly 2 weeks after the shocking plea deal that avoided sending Bryan Kohberger to trial. Stunning new details from those closest to Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Carnodal, and Ethan Chapin about what they believe was the motive behind Kohberger's brutal murders of the 4 University of Idaho students.
For people who have followed this story, we wanted to give them closure.
James Patterson has authored more than 100 New York Times best-selling novels, some even turned into movies like Kiss the Girls and Along Came a Spider. Morgan Freeman playing Patterson's signature character, Alex Cross.
I happen to like spiders.
And now he's working with investigative reporter Vicki Ward on a new nonfiction book, The Idaho 4, An American Tragedy. The duo conducting over 300 interviews with people that have ties to the case, including family and friends who believe Maddie was the target.
When you share this thought of how and where did he find these girls, was there a bit of a consensus among the friends?
There was consensus that it was Maddie that Kohberger was going for, and the victims' families,
We've heard that too.
I think, would all agree with that. You know, everything points to that.
Moscow police allege the culprit's cell phone records show his phone appears to have been close to the King Road house on at least 12 occasions between August and the night of the murders in November. Almost all.
Definitely not a great look. Usually the cell data isn't always great, but this one is
on at least 12 occasions between August and the night of the murders in November.
times?
Almost always late at night.
Wow.
It all began the night of November 12th, 2022. Kaylee and Maddie, newly 21 and lifelong best friends, went to a popular campus bar around 10 p.m. They're later seen at the grub truck, laughing, ordering food. Authorities say Xana and Ethan, both 20, were at a fraternity party earlier that same night, arriving home around 1:45 a.m. It would be the last hours of their lives. According to court documents, between 4:22 a.m. and 4:24 a.m., one surviving roommate, Dylan, texts the other to say she saw a man clad in black. I'm freaking out right now. No, it's like a ski mask almost. The other surviving roommate texting back, run, down here.
Tell me a little bit about how the description of what Dylan experienced came to life in the book.
It sounded so surreal to them all because she said he had a black mask and he looked like he was carrying a black vacuum. And they're sitting there thinking,
wow,
who could this be? And, you know, what on earth has happened?
Hours later, one of the surviving roommates calling 911.
911 location of your emergency. Hi, something is happening.
Prosecutors allege Kohberger purchased a K-bar knife like this one from Amazon, along with a sharpener and a sheath, and used that to kill the students. The murder weapon was never found, and prosecutors believe Maddie was the first person Kohberger killed. The knife sheath with his DNA found under her body.
He almost committed the perfect crime. Had he not left the knife sheath, he probably wouldn't have got caught.
After nearly 7 weeks, a major break, Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania.
That is insane, guys. This one piece of evidence. Imagine how the family would feel. Again, I don't know if Bryan did it or not. All we know is that he's pleading guilty. So taking that, imagine if they hadn't had the knife sheath, where they would be at today.
Not left the knife sheath, he probably wouldn't have got caught.
After nearly 7 weeks, a major break, Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. The book offers some new details and theories about Kohberger's connection to the roommates, like their friend Emily Allant, who told Patterson and Ward about a recurring nightmare after the murders, saying she imagined that Kohberger went to the restaurant where Maddie worked, expressed romantic interest in her, and was rejected. He then retaliated.
Tell me a little bit about how she explained that dream to you and how you put it into writing.
When they are told that the guy who murdered their friends is this guy, Bryan Kohberger, they don't recognize his photo.
Right, total stranger.
They can't put it together. That's when Emily said the only explanation that she and Hunter could come up with is the story that, we tell as the story of her dream, that Bryan Kohberger targeted Maddie.
Last month, I spoke to Emily Allant and her boyfriend, Hunter Johnson.
What
Hunter
happened?
recalled hearing Kohberger's name for the first time when he was named a suspect.
When the name came out, did you all start talking to each other and try to figure out how in the world this person came into everyone's lives?
My first thought was, who is that? Never saw the person ever in my life.
Hunter was the first person to arrive at 1122 King Road after one of the surviving roommates called Emily.
Emily got a call from Dylan around 11-ish, and then that's when I felt like I needed to go over.
And then what happened next?
I went into the house, and I think that's all I really am going to say.
He was also the one who called 911 that day and made sure Emily and her friends didn't see the grisly scene inside the house.
Is she breathing?
No.
How did you remain so calm in that moment?
It's truly, in my heart, I believe God was with me that day, and he gave me the strength to get through that day and to protect the girls in their hearts.
And you mentioned that you felt like he saved you a lot of trauma.
Yeah, I am a completely different person now, but I would also be a completely different person if it weren't for him as well. I couldn't be more grateful.
That day still seared into their memories, waiting to find out
Yes.
the fate of their friends inside that Moscow, Idaho home.
We watched the ambulance come and we watched them immediately leave. So I think that was a hard part for sure.
That second you realize there's no one to be saved.
They were gone.
Right.
You don't ever know when you're really going to grow up. When's I'm going to be an adult, I think that was the day where my childhood was left behind and adulthood had to enter.
And after the tragedy, Hunter and Emily left Moscow, never returned, and say they're still plagued with fear.
Are you guys finally feeling safe again? Or do you still?
Nope. There's no way.
I struggle. I struggle still. If he's not home, I don't shower. I don't like to blow dry my hair.
I think now
He's
it's
not
my
home,
time to
so-
be with her. Now it's my time to be there for her.
Yeah.
When I wasn't there for her originally, so.
Yeah. You grow up not
man.
having any fears of it. I was.
Dang, you hear that guilt, man, and that's tough. Because I guess he's imagining what could have possibly happened. It's not your fault, brother.
Jeez. When I was a kid, and yeah, now I fear everything. So.
Now that Kohberger
Wow.
pleaded guilty to all 4 murders, the authors think this book is more important than ever.
I think a lot of people think they know what this story is, but you read the pages of the Idaho 4 because it turns out that actually you don't. And that's the surprise. You're not going to have Kohberger standing in court telling us what happened.
Kohberger is now awaiting sentencing.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
The deal enraging some of the victims' parents.
Mr. Gonzalez, how are you feeling right now?
I'm pretty let down.
You're let down, you said? You said earlier that you made a deal, they made a deal with the devil. You still feel that way?
Yeah, trying to get there.
By admitting guilt, Kohberger was spared the death penalty and waived his right to appeal in exchange for 4 consecutive life sentences.
It's terrible. We let her down. I let my daughter down with trusting in this.
As bad as you could possibly imagine.
But Maddie Mogen's family saying they have closure.
We support the plea agreement 100%.
I understand the mixed reactions from the families. And, I have a lot of empathy for the Gonzalez family, because when you put yourself in their shoes, they've really been kept in the dark and they wanted answers. And now they won't get that satisfaction.
Patterson and Ward are
That's
hoping to
tough.
give readers a true sense of who these 4 students were and all of their promise.
You will meet them and you will feel them as human beings.
I spoke to Stacey Chapin, Ethan's mom, and she did say, which was wonderful to hear, that she's so glad that this book exists because it means that they're not forgotten. It is a tribute to them and their lives.
And as a parent, I cannot imagine having to go through this. And you think of Emily as someone who was there and heard and saw it happen. I mean, there's just a lot of guilt, a lot of guilty feelings, although they shouldn't. I mean, imagine if she even hadn't even testified, or if she hadn't been able to let the police know what she heard, what happened there. Could have been evidence wasn't found. So many things could have gone wrong in this situation. So sad to see. Sentencing is going to be next week. Y'all know we will be here covering it and let you know what happens, what the final outcome is for Bryan Kohberger. Let me know what y'all think of this in the comments and in the chat. Thank you again. How many? There's a ton of y'all in the building. We got over 1,400 of y'all up in here. And nearly 100% of you have liked the video. So thank y'all again for the likes. Likes are free. It helps us out a ton. And I appreciate y'all commenting and giving some feedback too. We see the same with the O'Keefe family. Oh gosh, John O'Keefe gets forgotten in all this Karen Reed mess. I can't understand revenge. I can understand revenge, but justice isn't and shouldn't be about revenge. It should be about justice. Yes. He should have never been able to plead guilty. He should have been sentenced to death for what he had done. And you think about it, it was really up to the prosecution, to be honest. Family didn't have a say. They said, hey, we're going to get this conviction. That's why I don't even like calling this the justice system. They're trying to get a conviction. We're going to get this conviction. Guilty on 4 counts. He's going to be in prison. Sorry, guys. I mean, we don't get to go through court and we don't get to let a jury decide. We gave him this offer. And that's why understandable why the family's upset. Oh, man. I get they wanted the death penalty, but why sit through the trial? All the gruesome details. He's never going to get out of jail. Well, because they probably want to see him, if he's found guilty, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And the jury would be able to rule on that. And we get to see all the evidence. The judge could weigh that in the sentencing. And then he could possibly face the death penalty. Now he's going to spend the rest of his days in prison. You know, I am morally against the death penalty. That's understandable. Some people feel that way. Send him to my house. I shouldn't read that out loud. Shout out to my guy, Will Wallace, in here with the 20 bomb. Dang, Will. Showing major love. In my opinion, 4 consecutive life sentences is a good plea bargain for the state. And that's what they're looking at. The conviction. This guy's not winning any appeals. The government should not be killing people. They should convict for killing. Why should they? That's a fair argument. I'm not going to argue the death penalty here today. But I can understand that sentiment, Will. Yeah, their job is to prove that someone's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And then, I mean, I guess it's up to the judge to decide. Thank you again to all of y'all for the support. Big shout out to all 1,400 of you that liked the video. Major shout out to everyone who went the extra mile and supported on the super chats. We got Debbie in there, in blue, Les Cleaver, Kara Hampton, Will Wallace, of course, and my awesome, amazing Amy up in here. We are going to be live tonight, so if y'all want to check out some music from the independent artists who are here on the ClassE YouTube channel, make sure you tune into the show tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be live, and we're kicking off a brand new season of the Song of the Night Live. It'll be a fun time. If you haven't yet, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time we go live or drop a new video. We'll be dropping videos throughout the weekend as well, going into Monday. Y'all don't want to miss out on the live stream then too. I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. Have an absolutely amazing weekend. And as always, you guys know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We going. Peace.